the skill set to be a ruckman is phenomenal. You've got to be big. You're in the contest. You've got to be all over the field more often than
Mm.
not. I'm more interested in your reasoning behind Darcy Cameron missing out on the top 10, to be honest.
Probably one that could deserve to be further up this list. Welcome back to Ahead of the Game Sports Chat. It's Sports Pairs Jez and Tuck's Sports Takes here from bets.com.au. We are sports editors, sports writers, and depending on which sport you follow, we're either really good or we're really bad this week.
At tipping, yeah, every week usually. Sometimes like a full moon. Sometimes you're really good at both, and then I don't know, probably more than a full moon, really bad at both. But you know, playing the long game, as we like to say, Ryan. That's what we do as tipsters. We play the long game.
Exactly. Today's episode, Jez, we're going to get into some AFL player rankings, and we want to look at specifically the big boys in the middle, the ruckmen, and we're going to rank them. The ones, or how do we explain it? So we're going to do one per team, and we've taken the guy that we think is either the best ruckman in the team right now. It's what, round 13, round 14, halfway through,
Just round
and
13 done.
And so it's either the best ruckman in the team or the ruckman in the team. So it could be the starter or the guy that is the ruckman, depending on injuries. We kind of started out by weeding out the guys that have played less than 5 games, and then we took away the guys that we thought were second rate if they were still multiples from the same team.
Yes, as second rate as you can be, being a professional ruckman in the AFL. You're second rate.
Exactly.
Second rate to us now.
3 different categories: the bottom 8, then 5 to 10, and then 1 to 5. And probably not going to touch on each guy in depth. We'll blast through the bottom rankings and spend a bit more time on the blokes at the top. And I think we're going to have a few difference of opinions in why these players. It's my list, and Jez is going to see it for the kind of like the first time.
Tell you how shit it is.
Exactly.
How out of your brain you are.
Should we get into it?
Yeah. Probably is the ruck, like, just on a side note, like a little bit underrated, do you think? Like these guys, man, the skill set to be a ruckman is phenomenal. You've got to be big. You're in the contest. You've got to be all over the field more often than not. And then you've still got to contribute either like heavily in disposals or find your role as a defensive player or as a even a goal kicker. Like, I guess the best ones are a little bit the perfect combination of both or of two or of three. But I think, underpaid, or are they, or should they be? Let's just go straight on a tangent straight away and talk about if they're getting paid enough or not. But I don't know.
I think you're definitely right in the thought process that the position is quite demanding, and there's different skill sets, and that's why this is so hard to do, to rank the guys, because like, okay, do you prioritize an attacking skill set or a defensive skill set? Do you prioritize athleticism or size and strength? And I think it really comes down to what you, as a footy fan, kind of prioritize, or what you like in a player or how a team works. And that also, how do they affect the team, and either winning or losing, or their go forward or defensive structures. But I think the ruck, as an out and out kind of hit outs kind of player, has maybe now played less of a role in the whole terms of what the ruck is, just because the bounce is not as common anymore. It's a throw up for any stoppage around the field. Even the throw ins, there's talk now about maybe getting rid of those. And it's okay, well, we still want to keep the rucks as a part of the game because it's so unique to AFL, and they're so important. So like, I think, I don't think they're underrated, but I think they're in danger of maybe getting pushed out, which I don't hope happens.
All right. Well, just to prolong this intro even a little bit more, what have you valued when you're putting together your list? Just so I know what I can pick at. What is it that you see is important as a ruckman, and what do you value most?
I like the versatility and a player that can do a lot of things around the ground. So they're maybe not the best attacker or the best defender or the best at hitouts, but they are consistent across the field. And I value quite heavily their impact in the game and on their team. And their team has to be, playing well and winning. And I think that also contributes to where you end up in these rankings. I've taken into account a heap of different stat sets from player rating, coaches' votes, um, their own clearances, hitouts to advantage, hitouts percentage, a team's ruck win percentage, whether they kick goals, take intercept marks, their disposal efficiency. I've geeked out, but
geeked out.
I do believe I've contradicted myself quite a lot as well throughout the process.
Okay.
So
Great.
we can stay aware for that.
Right.
So the bottom 8, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Now these guys aren't in any order because I thought it was just too difficult to rank.
Yeah.
So many different players. I don't want to spend too much time. It's a little bit more off the hip, these bottom 8. So Darcy Fort, Jordan Sweet, Reece Stanley, they have all played probably around half of the games so far this season, so haven't had a chance really to dominate for their team. And even Fort is kind of like the second ruckman behind McInerney at the Lions. So, but these guys in their certain spots and their little kind of parts in the game can definitely impress and have done well. I think Jordan Sweet's at ranking very high in one of the stat categories that I looked at. But neither of those 3 guys have ranked in the coaches' votes so far this season, so that pushed them quite far down the list. Matty Flynn from West Coast, he playing in a bad side, 0 coaches' points, second most turnovers of this list, and the lowest hit-out win percentage. So struggling a bit there for the Eagles. Kieran Briggs and Todd Goldstein, also 0 coaches' votes for those 2 players. Briggs is averaging just 66 minutes on the field per game. It's the lowest amongst this list of 18 players. But both of these guys are top 10 in hitouts, win percentage, and Goldstein ranks obviously a little bit further up than Briggs when you're looking at hitouts to advantage. So again, have some bright patches, these guys, throughout the season so far, but not enough consistency across the board to push them higher up in the rankings. Now, Jez, these 2 guys, Darcy Cameron and Rowan Marshall, you could argue possibly
major, man. Major. Yeah, give me your reasoning first.
I'll start with Marshall.
Go. Yeah.
I think he's kind of had a bit of a step back from last season. So he's down on his goal average about half. So last season he averaged just under a goal per game, 0.7. This year it's 0.3. His shots on goal are significantly lower as well. Slightly down in his win percentage, ruck win percentage, hitouts to advantage. Not significantly, but still down. Fewer disposals, so not getting enough around the ball to be kind of warranted to be further up in this list. Not getting any coaches' votes in comparison to the guys further up in the list. Just not doing enough. And St Kilda, they haven't set the world on fire this season. So again, kind of a bit of a negative for him there. Anything to say on Marshall, or going straight to Cameron?
No, I'm more interested in your reasoning behind Darcy Cameron missing out on the top 10, to be honest.
Okay, so my thought process here is, and partly, and this is where the first contradiction comes. Do you rank a player just on their skills as a ruckman, or do you rank them as part of a team? And Collingwood are a fantastic team. They're leading the comp, and they are doing extremely well. Now, does Darcy Cameron contribute a lot to that, or is he's one of the gears that keep it moving forward? And in my thought, he's just one of the gears. So they've got a very strong midfield, a strong back line, and he's great at intercept marking. So he gets back and works hard in defense. but quite average in the rest of statistical measures. Ninth in rating and coaches' votes, 14th in time on ground, 13th in disposal efficiency and hit outs to advantage. So him in of himself as a ruckman is not, extremely good, but he works well in this team and the team is playing well. So in that aspect, I guess you could push him further up the list, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think him. You put him in another team. Is he going to be higher up the list? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because, like, you are 100% right. When you look at his stats, he's barely in the top 5 in any statistical category. But you just sort of feel like the eye test, I think, sometimes can be key, especially in AFL, because there are so many cogs. And I think, like, hitting it on the head, if you take one cog out, a specific cog, and replace it with a different cog, is it going to be just as smooth or just as much as a well-oiled machine? And that's where I don't agree, because I think if you take Darcy Cameron out and put in somebody else, are Collingwood going to be just as good? Probably not. I feel that he influences the game a lot. His touches are very vital, and also his defensive efforts and tackling, I think, are also extremely underrated. So out of the, maybe not top 5, like we said, but out of the top 10 is pretty massive, because I think, I don't know. But then once we get into the top 10, you've got to go, all right, that's the thing with these lists. Who do you take out of the top 10 of the guys that are left to replace it for Darcy Cameron? Probably someone that is going to rank, 8th, 9th, 10th, possibly. But I think in these lists, like, I'm defending you now for your shit decision to have Darcy Cameron out. But I think if it's like you shift a player up or down 3 or 4 spots, besides when you're knuckling down to the top 5, I think it's pretty tough to rank. But I don't know, Darcy Cameron, Collingwood leading the comp, Collingwood, Collingwood, and he's a vital part. Is Dacos and their midfield as good without him? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, exactly to your point, Darcy Cameron, Rowan Marshall have probably a bit of a claim to say they'd be top 10, but it's like, who do you take out? The other guys, the other 6 in this list, they were surefire straight. They were the first ones picked into this bottom 8, and then I actually had to go to the top 5 first to get those guys out, and then look at the kind of 6 to 10 to then realize, okay, it's Cameron and Marshall that kind of fall out there. But let's hit that middle tier. If you're ready.
Anybody listening that has reasons why Darcy Cameron and Rowan Marshall should be in the top 10, don't forget, write in the comments down below and let us know and plead their case.
Yes. Okay, 5 to 10. And these guys, I feel, are kind of in order. Maybe you can, yeah, from the top down. So Tom De Koning, number 5, Tim English 6, Riley O'Brien 7, Brodie Grundy. Oh wait, 6, 7, 8. Brodie Grundy 9, Toby Nankervis 10.
Wow. For a stats
now,
geek, you struggled to count from 5 to 10 there, buddy.
That was it's 6 to 10. Maybe I started the wrong.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's the graphic. That's the problem.
Let's start at the bottom. Nank the Tank. Toby Nankervis, an old head, in a losing team, and they've been doing okay. They've got a young core, and they're trying to give these guys some experience. And I think he's more playing now in a bit of a brains over brawn aspect, but he's doing well statistically. And then I think for an older guy, he's doing all right, and he's quite high in a lot of the statistical rankings, and he's not the guy that why they're losing. It's not him.
No.
So I think in a losing team, if you compare to Matty Flynn at West Coast, or he's doing okay.
Yeah,
Brodie Grundy from Sydney. I think this was a tough one. When I got him here, and his stats are pretty good. Sydney, they've been up and down in their consistency, but we know that he is has been an elite ruck in any team.
I think if you did this list at the end of last year, he's top 5. Like he's top 3 almost. But it's just sort of fallen off the rails along with Sydney.
So he's 6th in player rating amongst this group, or the whole 18, 8th in coaches' votes. He has the 3rd lowest time on ground, which was one thing that kind of pushed him further down the list for me. His below average in disposal efficiency, doesn't hit the scoreboard all that often himself, but amongst this list, he's 7th in score involvements. So he does contribute to scoring. 5th in hitouts to advantage and 6th in intercept marks. And he's a guy that gets around the field. You'll get him up front, you'll get him down back, and he's a more athletic kind of ruckman in my eyes. Riley O'Brien, a lower ranked player in terms of ratings, but has secured some coaches' votes, and Adelaide have been pushing their case this season.
They're my boys now. They're my boys. I'm riding them for the premiership now. I know, outside chance, paying over 10 bucks from last week, and I threw a lazy 50 on them to win the premiership. And then they almost lost this week. I thought it would be so typical, put money on them and then they lose. But they got up against Brisbane, which is good, a top tier team. So anyway, that's another side cut to this episode.
Second highest in hitouts and win percentage, Adelaide are. So he's obviously contributing well to that. Himself, as part of this list of 18 players, he's 5th for hitouts to advantage. So, you know, he's contributing well to a winning team, and one of those players where you could probably slot him in really anywhere in the top kind of 4 to 10 spot. Tim English is one that I thought was difficult to get a grip on. He's there or thereabouts, so he contributes to a winning team, and I don't really see him as a majorly athletic guy in terms of his kind of speed and the way he moves around, but he's a great marker and contributes well to the team. He has the highest number of marks inside 50 out of any of the players in this list, the 3rd highest goal average, but has a little bit of a tendency to turn over the ball when you put it in comparison to any of these other guys. So here is a guy that contributes a lot on the attacking end, and I definitely think the Bulldogs are a worse team without him, and you've seen that over the years that he's played. When he has been out, they've struggled to make up for his ability both in the ruck and then when he pushes up forward.
Yep.
But it's just that here it was mainly it's like, hey, who do I push out? And there is a call for a couple of guys in his top 5, but
I think the next guy on the list you're going to talk about is probably the biggest surprise. But Tim English, I think also on his day, Tim English could be a top 3 ruckman. But it just feels like he's been a little bit inconsistent. He's had also these injury niggles as well, which obviously affect your game. But like you said, when at the start of the year there, when he wasn't playing, once he come back into the Bulldogs side, they were a completely different team. They played a completely different way when he's there. But it is that it's like he's good in attack, and he's definitely a goal scoring threat, which probably, I don't know, arguably the most, goal scoring threat ruckman in the game, up there at least in the top 3. So I think that's where his bonus is, and it's like, okay, what does it affect? He probably not as solid in the ruck contests, and I think even now it feels like he isn't at that same level that he was since he come back in 2025. So if that's he's still struggling with niggling injuries or whatever, but I think he could definitely be a top 5, and I think if you go on potential, I think the hype around Tim English was massive as one of the best ruckmen in the game. But it's just, these injury problems have just slowed that trajectory down a little bit. and probably thought he would be more involved. He'd probably get more disposals this year. His disposals have dropped a little bit. I was quite surprised that he wasn't sort of averaging over, like he's averaging 17 disposals a game, but I expected it to be more. It just felt like he was doing a lot more before than what he is now. So, yeah, I would probably, if you were doing this as a 5 to 10 list, you'd probably put him under Riley O'Brien and even maybe Brodie Grundy if I was doing the list. But like we said, move him up or down 2 or 3 spots. Yeah. Same shit.
Tom De Koning, a strong defensive, so kind of in contrast to English's attacking ability. Koning gets back, is strong defensively. Third in intercept marks among this list, has the 4th best player rating. So probably one that could deserve to be further up this list. I would assume that many people in the AFL would have him in a top 5 ruck. Yeah. Just kind of based around how you value a different player. I valued somebody else in front of him, but 8th in hitouts to advantage. One thing that really pushed him further down the list for me was that the team, so Carlton are 2nd worst in ruck win percentage and are below average in centre clearances. So he's not contributing enough in that spot to get them into a position where they're on the front foot. And that might have to do just with his, I don't know, his size, his jumping ability, I don't know, or just the way that they've set him up to play, that how he has to then turn and run back or whatever. I don't know. But that metric kind of, for me, was like, hey, well, that you can't be a top 5 player if your team is 2nd worst in the league in ruck win percentage.
Yeah, I think he's like taking in so many different aspects of a ruckman. I think what pushes him up is his ability to link and his disposals. He's got the 2nd most disposals of any player, any ruckman in the league at 19.7 per game. But I think I feel what he does and what he gives to Carlton when he's having a big game, they're usually winning. Like he's the one that sort of has even sort of filled in the blanks a little bit in turning the momentum of a game that maybe like Charlie Curnow, it's a tough word for me for some reason, Curnow and McKay used to do. Even McKay being that sort of bigger body as well. Like I know that they're not playing the same type of role, but it feels like he makes these big plays, these big defensive plays. And then he's also such a key link for them through the midfield where he's getting his usage. And it feels like when he's on, when you're watching like a highlights video or whatever, you're hearing his name pop up all the time. And he's being that influential player for Carlton. And when he's not there, they really, really miss him. Like I think they've sort of been able to fill the void of their other injuries over the last couple of years since they had that big run to the finals. Feels like they haven't been able to do that when he's not on the field. And then, just finding that spot for him because he is so versatile and you want to use him in so many different ways. So I think, I would give him probably a higher rating than a 6th. But, who do you take out of this top 5?
Yeah, he has, just like when you said that now, when I had a look, out of the guys on this list, he's the highest ranked player for inside 50s, averaging 4.2 per game. So exactly like you say, he's that link from the midfield to the forward line, or can be used in that way in comparison to the rest of the guys on this list. He does also, though, have the most turnovers per game of anybody on this list, but that might be just a pure kind of numbers thing. If you're having the most disposals, you're probably going to have the most turnovers as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the top 5. Woo. Now, we're going to just put them all up at once, and I'm pretty sure they're in order. The top dogs. Can I pet that dog?
Wow.
Now.
I like that Jarrod Witts is in here, man. You've done a good job.
Yeah.
Being a Gold Coast guy, he's massive for them.
So I can say straight off the bat, Witts and Meek are probably the 2 guys you could push out of the top 5 for a De Koning or an English or a Grundy or whatever. But why I picked these 2 guys, I think they contribute so well to their team, and just by watching the games, I feel like, okay, if you take Witts or Meek out, they're not going to be that good. And just the way the team is built exactly perfectly for that person, that skill set. Both of these guys are strong, big bodies. They dominate and are so good at getting kind of under the armpit of the opposing ruckman and just pushing them out the way and having that body contact, which over the course of a game is so tiring, and it helps to then lower the, I don't know what you say, it makes the other guy much worse because they're all the time trying
fatigue.
to battle that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
You
that
think
plays
in the 3 rucks that you've been involved in your life when you've had to go up, how tired you are after you've... Yeah, I know, but then you're rubbish after that because you're competing. You're trying to put on a show.
I know my body's not big. I'm smart. I push them,
Okay.
and then when they push back, I get out of the way so they fall over, and then I try and get the ball.
Okay.
Let's go to Lloyd Meek first. He's a little bit, I think, under the radar in terms of coaches' votes, player rating. I think his body type and the way he plays. It's again just to the point I said there. Is a dominant kind of athlete in this position. He's a very efficient ball user. He's 4th in marks inside 50 and has the highest goal average of anybody on this list. So he's a quite a good goal kicker, straight shooter. 3rd in hitouts to advantage. He tackles hard, and he's 3rd in pressure acts. So again, just a contributor to the team in general, can get forward, can get back and work hard defensively to put pressure on opponents, no matter if it's a small kind of midfielder or his opposing ruckman.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's definitely deserves to be in the top class, and what he's done this season has been phenomenal. He's definitely top range.
Jarrod Witts. Now, this one is probably the hardest to motivate because looking at his stats, they're not very good.
No, it depends what you value and what his role is. I'm on the Witts wagon.
I think again, his body type is just a massive dude. He's strong. He's 7th in rating, player rating, 5th in coaches' votes. Has the best hit out win percentage, or the team does. Sorry. And 2nd in hitouts to advantage. So the team is performing extremely well in the rucks, and he is a big part of that. He tackles well, and he's 6th in score involvements. So if you're just putting kind of those things against a player like maybe Tom De Koning or Riley O'Brien, I don't know. There is a chance that this guy isn't matching up statistically well, but if you watch the Gold Coast games and what he brings to the team and what he does to his opposing ruckman, I think he's definitely deserving of a top 5 spot.
Yeah, it's his role there at the Gold Coast. Like we've said, this type of these ruckmen are so versatile, and a lot of them put a lot more weight, and their role on their team is to do a lot more. But when it comes to Jarrod Witts, his role is to win the ruck. His role is to be the first to the ball and give Gold Coast the advantage that they need to win in the centre or win at the breakdowns, and that's his job. He finds guys like Noah Anderson and his followers, and you've got Flanders running off all the time, and he's doing his job there, and that's all he has to worry about, and that's why he's the best ruckman in the league if you're looking at comparing all of the key statistics to the actual ruck. So that's his job, and he's winning there. So what more does he have to do? Nothing. In theory, like he's not playing this defensive guy, this attacking guy. He's just there putting all of his energy into making it extremely difficult for these other teams to match up. And that's why the Gold Coast have been successful. When you read like previews to games and it's like, okay, who are they going to put against Witts? What's the ruck strategy? We've got 2. Are we running 2 against Witts? Are we running 1? Because you got to start thinking about that sort of thing because he's winning and dominating the ruck. So all of a sudden, you got to, instead of using just your one dominant attacking or defensive ruckman, you've got to start involving other players in the ruck because they can't compete over, the 3 hours of a game against Jarrod Witts because he's fit and that's his role and that's what he's doing to win. So and that's why the Gold Coast have been successful.
Yeah. In third spot, Luke Jackson. Now, this guy's not even the best, or not even the number one ruck in his own team, but he's, according to me, the third highest ruck in the league. But he's just ranking extremely well. He's second in player rating amongst this list, third in coaches' votes, and he has played quite a fair portion of the season so far in the ruck, with Sean Darcy being injured all the time. He is... second in rating, third in coaches' votes. What I think is a bit of a detriment to his ranking here, he doesn't spend a lot of time on the ground. He's one of the lower ranked players in terms of time on ground, and I think that's probably because he is such an athletic player that runs a lot. You'll see him pop up anywhere on the field and contribute. So I think Freo maybe have that opportunity to go through their rucks, and when Darcy's playing, or even, if they're locking it in the spot, Tracy can ruck, or if it's the back line, Brennan Cox or Luke Ryan can ruck. So I think it's more to do maybe with Freo's rotation structure rather than Jackson not being able to hack it on the ground. He's the fourth highest ranked player of this list in marks inside 50. He's the highest. Oh, sorry, that was Meek. Third in disposals, second in inside 50s. So he's a good player out of the middle, getting his own ball for ruck and clearing it out. Has a bit of a tendency as well to turn the ball over. Could be as well just he's getting a lot of hands on it, and he's playing a lot more of that connection piece. But one of the best guys at getting the ball off the ground, extremely strong, both on the ground and in the air. Best hit out to advantage percentage out of any of the players on this list. Third highest ranked player for score involvements, and that's despite his team not being great at scoring. So that is, I think, an important factor.
Yeah, it is crazy. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Freo does in the future, because now they have, with Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson, you're even saying that he's the third best. What are they going to do in this situation? But you can use it just like they are using it. They've got all these other options, and that gives them a strength. But I think this is certainly a guy, you're a Freo supporter, but if you're looking at statistics, he's an absolute gun. You listed it off. He's just top 5 in so many aspects, not only in that type of disposal, linkage type of player. He's also top in certain scoring areas, and he's also he's top of the list in hit outs to advantage. So when he is in the ruck, he's winning the ruck. So it's pretty phenomenal when we're talking about just before going on about Jarrod Witts, or how good he is just there. Luke Jackson's better, and he's also able to do all of these other things. And that's why I think you have to talk about him seriously in a top 3 conversation. I'm all on board with where he sits on this list as the third best ruckman in the game, because you take him out of Freo, and I don't know, I certainly don't see Sean Darcy contributing as much at both ends of the field like Luke Jackson is. And that's exactly the type of player that Freo need, because they've always been this defensive coup, and they've had problems moving the ball forward, and now they've got a ruckman that's stepping up and developing into this linkage guy, and can also kick goals and also be involved in scoring movements. So 100%, give him another year or two, and he could be definitely sitting at the top of this list and be all Australian in the ruck.
The next one, Max Gawn. Now, I don't think there's a player on this list that has a bigger influence over their team than Max Gawn, and we've seen it over the past few years.
You're contradicting yourself, because the guy above, I'd like to hear your story. I don't know. Sorry, I shouldn't have cut in there. Keep going. I'll let you dig a hole first.
No, but we've seen Max Gawn, and I think back to last year when he got injured, and they just fell off a cliff, and they were so bad without him. And that could just be because they didn't have a good replacement, but he's so good in so many different areas that, I just believe he's out of any player on this list, you take him out of that team, and that team suffers the most without that guy. He's third highest in this list of time on ground, so he plays a lot of minutes. He's the highest number of disposals of any of the players on this list, so he's important about getting his hands on the ball. Yeah, he's 8th in disposal efficiency, 3rd in rating points, 2nd in coaches' votes, most contested possessions out of anybody on this list, 2nd in intercept marks, 6th in hit outs
Guy's
to
32 years old.
advantage, 2nd in center clearances. So he not only does he ruck the ball, but he gets it in his hands and clears it out himself. So yeah, I think I don't know. Can you say any more about him?
Yeah, you could put him at the top of the list, possibly. that could say more. Like, you think, like, listing off all of this stuff that where he ranks the best, and statistically, and also 4th in time on ground, and 32 years old. Like,
yeah,
and he's a phenomenon. Like you said, you can talk about the numbers as much, but then you're going on about like the eye test and what he gives to a team and how he influences a team. That's why I think he is clear cut, should be at the top of this list for mine, because his influence on Melbourne is just ridiculous. I think last year they were struggling to kick goals. All of a sudden, Max Gawn's on your betting sheet to kick a goal every game because he was finding a way to be an influence inside 50. And then all of a sudden now they're having midfield problems, which how does that happen when you've got Petrarca and Oliver in the team? But all of a sudden he's becoming a linkage guy and is topping, averaging around 20 disposals a game. Like, but it's his role on that team too, because when he's out, they don't have anybody. So he has to stay fit. And that's what sort of, I don't know, it was quite a surprise last year that they didn't, over the off season, try and address that, because you've got to have a number 2 here. But I don't know, he's a machine. You're like, you don't need a number 2, but if he gets injured, all of a sudden you do. So
yeah, and there is a little bit of that
animal.
Those rumours of Luke Jackson wanting to go back to Melbourne and possibly linking up with the Demons again, but that has seemingly been put to bed over the past few weeks, and hopefully, as a Freo supporter, he's not going anywhere. So
yeah.
Okay, so number 1 on the list is Tristan Xerri, highest rated player of anybody on the list. So it's hard to ignore the player rating and the most coaches' votes. So that's kind of, I'm taking myself out of the decision-making process and saying everyone else is saying he's the best, so put him at the top. Now, the coaches' votes and the player rating, I guess, could somewhat be skewed because he is a good player in a bad team, and he's getting more of those votes or ratings because he's able to contribute at a higher level with everybody else around him not contributing. He's the 5th highest ranked time on ground amongst this list. Is good at ground ball gets, just like Luke Jackson. For big guys, getting the ball on the ground is extremely difficult, and they're good at it. Gets a couple of frees per game just because he's such a good player at getting into position that the defenders have to make create a foul, take a foul, or put a free kick, because there's no other way for them to bring him down or get in front or spoil the ball. So I think that's an underrated thing for a ruckman, is how many frees can you attract per game because you're outmaneuvering and out-strengthening your opponent. Xerri has the most hit-outs to advantage. He's 8th in score involvements, 3rd in pressure acts in his defensive half, so quite a good number there. A good spoiler of the ball, and 1st in clearances, I think you've added on to the end, right?
Yeah, on this list, absolutely. He's an absolute gun. But I don't know. The first thing you said here was you were taking winning into account. So that's where I think his only downfall is that North Melbourne are rubbish and can't. He doesn't have the support in his team that allows them to win games despite his efforts. Like, North Melbourne's biggest problem has been defense over the last few years, but you take him, he's the best defender on their team. So he's an absolute beast. His size, I think, is what makes him such such a key player and at the top of this list, or at least a top 5 ruckman, is his big, massive, big body, but still is able, like you said, to get down low and win those hard ball gets. He's strong, in clearances himself. He's able to do so much despite being like an absolute gun and a unit. He's able to move himself around. So yeah, I think the only downfall is that North Melbourne
are losing.
Are losing, but you put him in a contending side, and all of a sudden they become the number 1 contender, because what he could give to a team that's on a run would be huge. Like, there wouldn't be many teams that would say no if he wanted to move there. Like, Max Gawn, say just off this list, like Melbourne, you'd take him because Max Gawn is coming to the end. Maybe Freo have enough in their barrel to be able to say no. But I think, any of these other guys, Gold Coast, I would even say you'd take Xerri, Hawthorn, 100%. Like, there's no team that wouldn't take him, because he can be an influential player and change the future of that club.
Yeah. Well, that was an exhaustive list. A lot that has been said and debated. And of course, if you've reached this far, don't forget to write in the comments your thoughts about it. If you think I'm completely out on my bike, and I'm expecting a few of those comments here, I guess. But
yeah, you are a little bit, but I think it was a good list. I think it's pretty solid. It is so hard to rank these players, like we said, but I think I'll give you kudos. I wasn't so upset like I was with maybe some of the other lists that we've recorded and done. So I don't know. Kudos to you.
All right. Don't forget to head over to bets.com.au for game previews for NRL, AFL, NRL, Supercars, Formula One, racing. All free. Completely free. So head over there and check it all out. Best odds as well. Tux, Sports Takes, Sports Pez Jazz, and take us away, big boy.
Yeah, and hang with us and you'll stay ahead of the game.